Okay, it is a new week. Today we're going to be talking about focus and concentration, and I'm going to do my best to do that while also focusing on driving. I'm now on my way to the office. I've been thinking about this for a long time. I've been studying a lot about how to focus better, how to stay on track with your goals and the things you want to achieve in life. Because at the end of the day, it's not super trivial to stay focused, especially in this day and age. We have so many distractions around us with social media and our devices, which are all around us. It's much easier to be distracted than to be focused. But this is the obvious stuff, right? We all know that these are distractions and we have to avoid them. And now even the big companies are putting in, like Apple has focus time that you can enable on your phone, and Android phones have similar things on their devices as well. These companies are obviously trying to do something about that, and it is obvious. But the less obvious ways that we get distracted from our devices, the main thing you need to think about is the fact that your device is a gateway for the world to reach you. Once you get going in your career, it shouldn't be a big surprise what happens. More people want to reach you because they want to ask you a question, they want to get your input or something, they want to ask you for a job, they want to ask you for a referral, they want to ask you out on their podcast, and that's probably a good thing for you because that's something that you wanted to happen. But at the same time, it's a big distraction. If all you do all day is respond to people's messages and emails, normally wouldn't have time to do anything else with your day. So next level focus is just not picking up your phone. So there's different ways to solve it, and this video is not about that, but I'm just saying that it's something that I think you need to think about. You need to think about the fact that all of these little things that add up to a lot of hours in a week take up a lot of your time, and you need to buy back that time by saying no to just random people asking you random questions at random times. You can always call them back. If you can afford it, you can have an assistant who can take their message. If it's urgent, they can try to reach you and things like that. But just, like I said, figure out what works for you, but focusing on the stuff that's important to you and not focusing or saying no to all these distractions is, like I said, next level focus. Why is it important to focus? The distractions kind of feel good, right? I mean, your mom called you to ask you about random things, and it just feels good to talk to your mom, right? The thing is that we have a limited amount of time throughout the day to work and stay focused. And for everyone, this is a different amount of time, but we all have a limited amount of time. So let's say for someone it could be 8 hours, for someone it could be 6 hours. So we need to use that time wisely and in the best way possible. For that purpose, we need to determine what's important for us and try to stay focused on that while we spend our time. So let's say we have 8 hours of time to work. We should spend 8 hours on working, not scrolling Instagram, not talking to your mom or your girlfriend or whatever the case might be, okay? Because otherwise, you think that you've worked 8 hours, but you've actually worked 4, 5, maybe 6 hours if you're lucky. And then you're wondering why you're not moving forward at the pace that you want to be moving forward. And well, it's because you're not spending enough hours. We don't have that much time as we actually want and desire to have. And hopefully I get to live a long and happy life, but you never know, right? Regretting that you didn't do something is always worse than doing it not working out, or you figuring out it's not for you, because at least you tried. Otherwise you'll never know. And I think the only way to get there is to do your best to spend your time wisely by focusing on the things that are important to you. Okay, so midday updates. First of all, to be honest, I'm not feeling 100%. Don't think I've had a lot of downtime the past few weeks or maybe a couple months. So I'm starting to get a little bit tired. Anyway, aside from my personal discomforts, I thankfully managed to get a workout in this morning. Then I had to rush to the office. We have two main people that are off this week. So I'm gonna have to jump in and help with some of the work on the projects that we have going on. And this is a problem for a few different reasons. The main one is actually also the topic of today's video, which is gonna be, again, related to our favorite topic of conversation lately, which is focus. So what we normally do is we have a bunch of stuff going on. Right now, I'm focusing on some things in the business. I'm trying to grow the business. We're starting a marketing branch of our business. We are trying to increase our sales efforts. I'm doing a vlog type video, YouTube content marketing situation. I'm wrapping up my apartment, my new place that we're about to move into, losing weight, trying to find my abs somewhere, and since they've been gone for 20 years. I'm also helping my fiance with some of the stuff that she's working on. Everybody likes to focus on 10, 12, 13, 15 different things at the same time, which is okay. The thing is figuring out which of these things are most important to you and determining the activities that you need to do in order to get to the place where you want to be and just do that. What we normally do is we have a little bit of excitement in the beginning. Let's say we want to get into a better shape, so we start working out. We either, I don't know, find a program or a coach or new app or whatever the case might be, and we get excited for the first 3, 4, 5 times that we go to the gym or we do the workout, and then the excitement slowly tapers off, and at some point it's not that exciting anymore. Most of the stuff that you need to do in order to get the results that you want is actually very boring because you do the same stuff over and over again. You work on the same stuff over and over again in order to make it happen. Number one, Apple announced their design awards. And for those of you that don't know what the Apple Design Awards are, they're basically just Apple's every year they award developers a design award. And now, why is that important? Because I think this kind of shows the direction of where Apple is going with the apps that they want to emphasize, what they're focusing on currently. Of course, there are some politics related to it. Regardless of the politics, it's important for app developers to pay attention to those little signals because I think they show more or less the bigger trends which can be useful to app developers out there. But the important parts are the following. So the winner in the delight and fun category is actually not a game. There is one winner, which is a game, but the other one is a gratitude journal app. And it's interesting that we're moving so much in this direction where we're trying to get our phones to be our companions for mental health, as we're talking about in this video, better focus, just being more mindful of what's going on around us and not be so distracted and things like that. So this app, Bears Gratitude, is a great example. It's a journaling app which helps you get into the habit of journaling and paying attention to your thoughts. The other important metric here is the fact that the developer is not some big company, it's a solo app developer. And I'll tell you in a little bit why that's important. But the other one that I want to show is the winner in the interaction category. It's an app called Crouton. It's again developed by a single guy, Devin Davis from New Zealand, but his app is amazing. And obviously Apple feels the same way. We can talk about how Apple has throughout the years shown to favor some apps over others. One of the apps that we've worked on has also won their attention at some point in time. But the important part here is the fact that it looks like we're moving back into the direction of apps being more of a utility, more of something that you can use on your phone on a daily basis. They need to be easy to use, smooth, not bloated with features that are unclear, how they help your life and things like that. It's funny that we're talking about this today because actually the App Store was released, I don't know, like 15 years ago, something like that. Initially, as you can probably imagine, the first few years in the App Store were only small developers. It was not like this big juggernaut of a thing where it's spilling out billions and billions of dollars per year, and it feels like it's a little bit dominated by the big players like Uber, Airbnb. Initially, it was small apps, utility apps mostly, which people could use on a daily basis. And this is what actually got me excited about app development. And exactly 8 years ago, so 10th of June of 2016, which kind of sounds like a eternity ago, we went to this competition in Salzburg, Austria. It was organized by Porsche Innovation Engine, and they were trying to find innovative ideas that they could incorporate into their portfolio of products or marketing. Category that we were in, we had to build a Shazam for cars. So I hope everybody knows what Shazam is, but it basically helps you identify any song that you listen to. But we didn't do it with sound, we actually did it with images. And we quickly trained an image categorizer, which was able to identify about 80, 90 models of cars. We quickly spun up the app. So basically less than 48 hours, we built the app. We had a logo, we had full functionality. Everything was working properly. You basically took a photo of a car and it told you what car is on the photo. That was all the way back in 2016, which sounds like ancient times. But yeah, we did it. It worked pretty well for the time. And we won the competition. So here's a photo of me and my buddy getting the sort of check for the first prize. And the prize was twofold. So one part of the prize was that we were promised a big contract to work with these guys to develop the idea further. The second part of the prize was us getting to drive some nice cars on a racetrack. The reason why I'm showing you this is that the exciting part was building your own app, putting it on the App Store, making a lot of money. Like that was the dream, basically. We built a few apps with my friend. I built a few apps by myself, but the money-making part was the place where we actually failed. But now we're going full circle back to that initial state of mind, sort of initial focus. The big difference now is that we now actually know how to make a business out of building an app. And there's a few things, key important things at play here, which I think have the potential to play a key role in us being successful this time. Is first of all, as I showed you, this focus in general and this trend in general in software of going back to solo, smaller developers who are building niche apps. Now, my focus when I was starting was building apps, basically. The part that I didn't focus on was how to make money with an app. I thankfully spent the past 8 years learning that. With the projects that we've worked on, we're now back to focusing on releasing our own apps in the App Store, and hopefully this time we'll be more successful with generating revenue. We now have another meeting for a client project. After that, I'm going to show you one of the first steps that we're making towards making this new in-house app project a reality. Ще го транслейтва на твоя език, какъвто е сетнат в момента. It's 5 p.m. almost. I still haven't had any food, which is not ideal. So energy levels are going down dramatically. And I did order some food. It's still on the way though. Anyway, we wrapped up, thankfully, all the meetings for all the client stuff that we're working on. And we're finally ready to get into the groove of what we talked about earlier, which is one of the first steps in releasing our own app into the App Store. We did try to do it relatively soon with an idea that I had for using voice input for doing a personal journal. And we did get relatively far with it, but the whole point was not just to create the app, but was to also test how we can do B-type projects, meaning very minimal, very scrappy, very quick, and very cheap. So yeah, we tried it once, we failed because it took too long. We got to maybe, I don't know, 80%, 90% from the functionalities, but it was still taking too long. And the whole point was to try and do it quickly on a tight budget and things like that. And it didn't work out. So now we're actually trying a different strategy and a different tactic, which is we're gonna outsource the development of the app. So we're an app development studio and an app development agency, but it turns out that our focus is bigger projects. So we're not necessarily the best equipped to do a quick, small project, small budget, which is an MVP type of project or just a simple app. So we're gonna try a different strategy, which is to outsource both the design and the development. Of course, we're gonna do the project management internally, the product management as well. We already have the whole scope written down. We have wireframes for the designs and things like that. So we have done some preparation internally. But the point is to now outsource the remaining parts, which is usually what takes us the most time, which is the design and the development. And we'll see how it goes. We have a plan, and today we're gonna submit the app for design. Finally, 8 years later, we're going back to building our own apps, which I mean mobile apps that we are going to submit into the App Store. So yeah, you're gonna see a little bit of that process in a minute. So what we're actually doing here is filling out the design brief in 99 Designs. And this is actually something that Vanya has already prepared previously, kind of with my help, but mostly without. We need a minimalistic, nostalgic design for our shopping list sharing mobile app. We just submitted the app for the design contest. We'll see what's going to happen. It was a little bit more than we expected. I thought it was going to be like $1,200 or something like that. It ended up being a $2,000 submission. We'll see. I have no idea what's going to happen. That's the first time that we're doing it, but it's just an experiment. So fingers crossed. But it's a nice segue into the topic of today, which is focus and focusing on a single thing for a certain period of time. And as you can see, we can discuss this a lot on a micro level, on a more macro level, on a super macro level. But I think the message that I'm trying to communicate is that the biggest changes and success that I've had with my business has been in the moments or periods of time when I was able to focus on the thing that I wanted to achieve. Confused and so scattered in what we do throughout the day, and we end up not leaving enough time for the things that are important. And the biggest change that I did, which helped me focus better, was that I just like to set a priority for a certain period of time, and whatever else comes through the door, if it's not in any way related to that priority, I just say no. So focusing on a single thing is actually working on your saying no muscle, because it is a skill and it takes effort to say no. You just have to get into the habit of saying no if it's not what you're trying to achieve. For our example, my two main points of focus are growing the service side of the business, getting more clients, getting more people on the team. Second focus, which is related to the first one, is also growing our own in-house app production, which means getting more apps into the App Store. This is for purposes of generating extra revenue, being able to show it on marketing materials, being able to show the process of how we actually do things around here. This is the area of focus for me in the business. This week, you're gonna see a lot of me working on projects as well. We're not gonna be able to show a lot of it actually, as client work is not that easy to show. But yeah, as always, I hope this has been of some value to you guys. Thank you for paying attention to my stuff, and I'll see you in the next video.